frequently I'll have people message me and talk about how they are years down the road, sometimes decades down the road, and maybe still watch videos. Or I will get requests from people who are years down the road and they'll say, we'd also like some things for us. We're 2, 3, 5 years down the road doing very well, but we still watch your videos and we would love a piece that would be kind of for us. And so today is for those that are early on in recovery, as well as for those that are years down the road. It's kind of a tough thing to do, but I think today's topic will bridge that gap. I think that you can relate to this message probably easier if you are at least maybe a year to several years down the road. If you're just launching out into recovery, this will still be helpful for you, but it may be a little bit more challenging to grab hold of and run with. But I'm going to do my best because I think there's some great information and perspective in this video. Conceptually, this can be a little bit hard to grasp, but the truth is we, both unfaithful and betrayed, should be some of the most compassionate, understanding people in society. It's just a true fact. And you may say, why, Samuel? We have been, if you're a betrayed, raked over the coals. Our lives have been ripped apart. Why should we be some of the most compassionate people in the world? Or, if you're an unfaithful, you could say, I've just devastated everybody in my life. My spouse or partner's raging at me. Life is out of control. How could you ever propose this idea? And here's the truth. The reality is we should be some of the most patient and understanding people because we have blown our own lives apart. We as unfaithful primarily, but this could be true for the betrayed. For us, we have devastated everyone. We've come out from the matrix. We're no longer living in this pretend normal, like everything's just great, we have it all together, and everything's fine behind our perfect house, perfect car, perfect kids, blah, blah, blah. All of that has been blown to smithereens. We understand what it's like to suffer. We understand what it's like to live in hell. We understand the agonizing, destructive times of life when everything that you've put your trust in has been just absolutely ripped apart. We understand what it's like to count on people and be devastated and be disappointed. We understand what it's like to be left for dead in a desert that either we created or we didn't create, and we were dropped out of a plane that was thousands of feet in the air, and we had no parachute, and we landed into a devastating, isolating, horrible experience that we probably wouldn't wish on anyone. Let me interject and tell you a story. Several years ago, a great friend of mine, who I loved to death, had a real difficult episode, and he really kind of went off the deep end. We call it going off the rails. It was devastating for his family, for him. I can't go into detail, but he short-circuited. I'll call it that. And I was really frustrated and really angry. Not that he did it, that he didn't reach out to me or let me help him. And Samantha and I were sitting on the couch, and I'll never forget this. She was like, how could you be angry? And I said, because I'm angry. He did this. He didn't ask me for help. He didn't trust me. I tried to help him. He hung up on me, blah, blah, blah. And I was really, and she said, why are you so angry? How are you not being more compassionate? Shouldn't you be the most compassionate friend he has because you've blown your own life up? And I just sat there like, this woman speak truth, me mad. Because that's what we do, we shut down. I just sat there with, I am angry, Samantha, because you just told me the absolute truth. And it took me a few minutes to kind of breathe. It took me a few minutes to get out of my, man type communication of, and really digest the fact that, she's absolutely right. And he would wind up in jail. His wife would end up calling us pretty frequently, and we did everything that we could to help. But it was that moment that I had to digest the truth of, wait a minute. Let's remember what it felt like to blow your own life apart. Let's remember what it was like to be suicidal. Let's remember what it's like to be embarrassed beyond all get out and not be healthy enough to be, in a sense, humble and amicable. Let's remember what it's like to be so angry at ourselves for blowing our life apart and then be a jerk to everyone because we're so full of shame and we're so full of condemnation and we hate what we've done and then we hate ourselves for doing it, but we're not healthy enough. We haven't done enough work to be compassionate, so we're just going to be angry at everybody and we're going to continue to project all of our self-hatred and anger and resentment towards ourselves and blame and all that, and we're going to throw it on everybody else in our lives. What typically happens to us, the survivors of either our own infidelity or our mate's infidelities, we typically start with incredible sarcasm and cynicism. Because we're still angry, we're still hurt, we're still caught up in so much pain, we become very sarcastic, very cynical. And we move from that stage to starting to do work. And then maybe we experience forgiveness. Maybe we start to really kind of come to a sense of sobriety of what we've done and invited upon our lives. And then hopefully we move to a great place of compassion and being present because we've done a lot of good work. And we can then circle back and be incredibly patient and compassionate and real with other hurting people because we remember what it's like to be in that place. You see, if we don't do the work, we can get stuck in this incredible amount of sarcasm and cynicism, looking at life with this very dark, angry point of view, and then that becomes projected towards people who mess up. And now, instead of being compassionate, we're lashing out at them. For me, I can look no further than my past life choices and really find the ability to be compassionate with people. And by no means is this, at any level, this advertising special for how compassionate and perfect and long-suffering I am as an individual. That's just not true. Ask Samantha. I'm so much better than I used to be, I can tell you that, but I'm still a work in progress like all of us. Here's what I have learned. All it takes is for me to remember what I'm capable of and what I in fact did to keep me humble. It's something that as I come from faith, God has allowed in my life for me to go, anytime I feel really great about myself, I just simply look back at all the damage that I have caused and the pain that I am capable of creating again if I don't live with some pretty rigorous boundaries in my life and I am able to find compassion. I hope that you can also step into that if you're an unfaithful and realize, wait a minute, how could I throw stones after all the collateral damage that I have produced? I hope that you as a betrayed, as you work through your healing, as you work through finding a sense of restoration personally, maybe with your relationship, maybe not, you're able to then go, wait a minute. I know what it's like to have your life ripped to shreds and the rug pulled out from underneath you. I understand why he or she is hurting, why they're angry, why they're lashing out, because they've been devastated. I heard this term the other day, and I think it's perfect for some of us unfaithful, it's called chronological snobbery. And what it is we are fixated on only the present. Get over it. Stop talking about it. Why do we have to keep talking about it? Why do we have to keep going to counseling? Why do we have to do all these things when in reality, we only want to live in the present and we're doomed to repeat the past because we won't be aware of our past. We won't own our past. We won't embrace our past. And if we won't do that, we'll never be able to recreate a new future where our betrayed partner or spouse can embrace us and love us, accept us, and forgive us. The truth of the matter is, he or she who's been forgiven much loves much. For me, I'm able to love, sure, my family, but people in crisis and people who are struggling and people who maybe are having difficult days and lash out because I understand what it's like to be forgiven of so much. I wonder where you're at today. I wonder if you're an unfaithful, how much are you able to love? Are you in touch with the damage that you've created, or are you still at a point of defensiveness and anger, maybe cynicism, maybe sarcasm? Yeah, right, sure, maybe that's part of your vernacular. And I wonder if maybe there isn't a chance for you to do more work to get to a point of humble gratitude because you can love much because you've been forgiven much. And that onus is not on your partner to forgive you like, well, if you'd forgive me more, I'd love more. No, no, no. Maybe it's seeking out forgiveness. Maybe it's forgiving yourself. Maybe it's working to be a safe person so that your spouse or mate can forgive you because of the work that you've done. If you're betrayed, it's a very tough place to be when you've had your life shattered. But I know that as you heal and as you forgive, you will find great love. It's not necessarily part of the parable, but it is true that he who or she who forgives much, I really believe, walks in a great deal of love, walks in a great deal of compassion. That's not a manipulative tactic for you to forgive someone, but it is truth, and it is recognition of the fact that when you're able to forgive, there's a love, there's a beauty that flows out of your life. Let me tell you, there's a beauty that flows out of Samantha's heart, which is indicative of all that she has decided to forgive me for.